compared to Megadeth, where I'm talking about like platinum selling albums with Megadeth.
Which is now started?
They don't even have a platinum selling record.
Jesus.
How many records is that?
Hanson.
By a lot.
They've sold more on that one album than any of fucking.
You had to guess Scott Ian's net worth. What would you ballpark it at?
$3 million.
A very good guess. It's $6 million.
If I had to guess, I would say Surge's is what, like 35?
That's 20.
Okay.
Damn, Dave Mustaine net worth $18 million.
I believe that.
It's something ridiculous like that. I'm pulling it up now. $300 million. Oh, yikes. You know how you get that rich? When ESP gives you all your fucking gear and shit.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to buy a single fucking
out
guitar.
Football stadiums, dick.
Oh shit. Okay. Dude, every single time you're like, all right guys, peace out, see you later. So I'm just like, okay, all right, later guys. And then I just walk around like Pablo Escobar, like that meme with Pablo Escobar, you know what I mean? Where he's just like doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with his life. So yeah. But okay, cool.
I guess Adrian couldn't wait to get the fuck off. He's gotta go.
Yeah. It's like, man, did you have a girlfriend? I was like, no. She's like, knock the fuck out. I just didn't do anything after that. Just stayed sitting here for like at minimum 20 minutes.
Oh, good talk.
Hey, give me a second. I gotta close the window.
No.
Hey, are you going, BD? Okay. Hey, they said that they gotta cut this. Love you too.
Wow.
Bro, let's talk about the tamales.
Well, I mean, he's not going to be able to hang out with us tonight because we got to go do another fucking pod after this. We got to talk about the best episode of Wheel of Time. No. Yes, I did. It was really fucking good.
It's okay.
I had it timed. I'm literally back at like 32 seconds remaining or something like that. Nah, I heard you say we got 40 seconds. Where the fuck is Adrian? So I was just guessing. Walk away. Walk away.
It's not walk this way, dude. We're not fucking heavy Aerosmith over here. Talk this way.
What's up, everybody? Oh, I unmuted myself. Premature. Yep.
Hey, shout out to Dave's mom.
Didn't we have
Please stop.
Didn't we have a song like that? Wasn't it Premature Ejugulation?
Yes, it was. That was the. What did that turn into?
Bred to Die.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Like our only good song. No, I'm just kidding.
I would argue it was one of our best, but
I agree.
I don't know if it was our only good.
If you had to take Bred to Die and put it against anything on the first 4 Anthrax albums, how do you think it would fare?
Middle of the road. I think it would be at least 50% better than. Anyway, let's not.
Adrian, as the person who wrote that song, you should feel offended by that. That he thinks there's like 20 songs Anthrax has on these first 4 records that are better than Bred to Die. That's a fucking disgrace.
That's like all of us. Josh, you wrote the main riff too, so
didn't I come up with the rhythmic pattern of that song?
Yeah, definitely, guys.
Dude, I did. Fuck you. Whatever. I don't care.
I think your drum teacher gave you the idea for that.
Hey, I didn't have a drum teacher. You know why? Because I didn't have lessons.
Don't we know it?
Well, yeah.
Hey, so I feel like since I'm using headphones, I'm lagging like a son of a bitch.
No, you're not.
Okay.
You're accurate to me on you're good on the stream.
Yeah.
Sound good to me.
All right.
Hey, for those tuning in here, so we're doing a little double duty here tonight. So we're going to be doing our Metalhead's journey with Anthrax, first 4 records, and then Dave, I'm assuming we're going to cut the stream and come back with Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so
episode
we'll
6.
We'll be doing Wheel of Time episode 6 tonight as well. So double duty, we gonna be busy.
Yep.
But do you guys want to just get into Anthrax here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do this.
All right. Hello, and welcome to Three Guys and a Mic presents A Metalhead's Journey, the Big 4, Anthrax. I'm your co-host, the Human Dart, along with
Jason Tsunami,
David Disaster,
Adrian Aftershock.
Blah.
Yo.
Just like that.
That's how we do it.
Just like that. That's how
What's Good, not Anthrax. Okay, we got that out of the way early. There we go.
All right, guys. See y'all later.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
all
quick.
right. Live long and prosper. Oh man. I mean, talk about. I don't want to get into this too early, but talk about what a disappointing 4 weeks this has been. Right?
You don't want to get into it too early, and you just look. You dropped the hammer. Like, look, I know Jason's gonna have something for this more formally, but I just want to say, like, look. If you're a big time Anthrax fan,
we're sorry.
Keep an open mind. This may not be the podcast for you unless we might try to make this humorous, but needless to say, part of this journey was to discover bands that maybe we didn't, that we hadn't heard and didn't really give a chance. And, we're not going to like all of it. So, that's all I'll say.
I disagree. This is definitely a video for a big time Anthrax fan because, for the most part, they need a fucking wake up call. So,
I was just gonna say, I was going into Megadeth, right? I had,
you're a big time Metallica fan, for the record,
right? So yeah, so I had very little expectations going into Megadeth. In fact, I expected to hate my life. And I was pleasantly surprised that there was a lot of Megadeth that was really, really good. And I would say I'll say me. I totally missed the boat on Megadeth over the years. I missed out on decades of good music. And then doing the first 4 Slayer records, I'm going into it like I think I know what Slayer is. I think I know what it's about. And being very pleasantly surprised by the first 4 Slayer records. So I went into Anthrax like fucking with arms wide open,
Yeah.
Like I was ready to totally embrace Anthrax and enjoy it. And let's just get on with the podcast. Because it was not that, unfortunately. It was not good.
Jason.
Yeah, let me just get this out there for everybody before we run down this. Before we get to running down this rabbit hole, I just want to take a moment to explain something. And we've kind of started this already.
Is Jason cutting it out for anybody else, or is it just me?
On a
little bit, but he's good.
Okay. That's not our intent. In fact, if anything, we're hopefully going to shit on ourselves for going this far in life without experiencing some of these forefathers of thrash and heavy metal. While all of us are into metal music, there are many forms, and all of them are not for everyone. So please relax, sit back, hopefully enjoy our older metalheads experiencing something new.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good shit.
All right. So we're talking about the first 4 records here for Anthrax. So just to kind of get a quick introduction here to Anthrax for anybody who doesn't know. Anthrax is an American heavy metal band from New York City, formed in 1981 by rhythm guitarist Scott Ian and bassist Dan Lilker. The group is considered one of the leaders of the thrash metal scene from the 1980s and is part of the big 4 of the genre, along with Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. They were also one of the first thrash metal bands, along with Overkill and Nuclear Assault, to emerge from the East Coast. The band has released 11 studio albums, several other albums, and 26 singles, including collaborating on a single with American hip-hop group Public Enemy. According to Nielsen SoundScan, Anthrax sold 2.5 million records in the United States from 1991 to 2004, with worldwide sales of 10 million. 4 of the band's studio albums have also achieved gold certifications, including their 3rd full-length record, Among the Living, which is one of the albums we'll be talking about tonight, which cemented Anthrax's reputation as one of the most successful thrash metal bands.
Okay.
All
right. So first album here, Fistful of Metal, came out in January 1984. So one of the things that we'll see going through Anthrax here is we will see a few member changes here. It's not going to be like Slayer, where basically it's the same guys the whole time. So the lineup here for the first record, you have Neil Turbin on vocals, Dan Lilker on bass, Scott Ian on guitar, rhythm guitar, Dan Spitz on lead guitar, and Charlie Benante on drums.
Right.
So, like I said, there's lots of lineup changes to come down the line. There's also some lineup changes that happen pretty quick here. It was very, very early on in this process with the first album here that you had Scott Ian and Charlie Benante kind of link up and try to get a tighter hold on the band. So after the recording of the album and the tour, they kicked Turbin out of the band, and they got rid of the bassist Dan Lilker as well. But they're on the album, but they don't survive long post album.
All right.
Okay.
So, Fistful of Metal. What'd you guys think?
So
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'll just give are we just doing an overview, or you want me to go through my full shit here?
Go through your full shit.
So your overview, or are we going to get the score here?
Yeah, I'll give the score here in a moment. So overview, like Josh said, I was pretty excited to get into Anthrax. On my first listen to this album, I was, I thought it was good. I was happy with it. And then I kind of forgot about it as I listened to the other records. And now I will say, coming back to it, and we'll get into why later, but coming back to it, I was even more surprised and I enjoyed it more after listening to the records following this one. And I actually, this has become one of my favorite of the first 4 records. Overall, I think it's a pretty straightforward heavy metal album. It does have a few moments that miss for me. one in particular that's I really, really don't like. But overall, I think this is a fine introduction and a pretty decent first album for Anthrax here coming out the gate.
Adrian, Josh, you want to
go? I'll go ahead and go. I had very similar to Dave when I first heard this album. I mean, it was just kind of cookie cutter to me, but I mean, so is most shit I listened to for the first time. Like I have to, kind of listen to it several times before I have a legitimate a legitimate idea of what I actually think about it, if that makes sense. Anyway, so just like you guys, as Josh mentioned, I was excited to move on from from Slayer to a new band because, dude, I actually really liked Megadeth. I really liked Slayer, and I was super excited to try this band. I mean, there's okay, those bands kicked ass. There's no way it's not going to be Anthrax. The very first thing, or that's not going to be the case with Anthrax. The very first thing I noticed, it's funny, I told Dave, I thought the singer, what was his name?
Neil Turbin.
Neil Turbin.
I thought he sounded. I mean, it's like, dude, is this fucking David Lee Roth? Like, it's who I thought he was. Like I had to fucking Google that shit.
That's the notes I have written down for vocals.
But after we moved on from this album, so look, I'll just say this about this album right now. I think it may be. It is definitely an awesome first album for any of these thrash metal bands to have. Like, usually first entries are pretty much trash in general, not just thrash metal, but this is like a great first album for a thrash metal band. And I only thought from here it would get better. So when I came back to this album after listening to those four, I mean, it was definitely that much fucking better. I was like, holy shit. Like, and I even texted you guys, have y'all gone back to Fistful of Metal? Because this was fucking, like, this album's fucking great. Anyway, should I give my lowlights, highlights?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, so lowlights, definitely going to be I'm 18 as the only lowlight. I fucking hate this song.
I agree.
Hold on. Cooper.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm okay with you putting a cover on there, but are you really going to sit here and tell me that was the only low light?
Yeah,
you're not gonna put Anthrax on there as a low light.
It's just mad, dude. Like, meh.
Oh my god.
I also agree. I didn't know we were doing highlights and lowlights yet, but I agree with you, Adrian. My only low light from this record is also I'm 18.
That is the best song on the fucking album.
See, here's the thing. I didn't,
because they didn't write it.
I didn't even regard that as a song on this album. I listened to it, but I did not. I didn't put it on here as a grade, so it's not a highlight or low light. I just acted like it didn't.
So I kind of feel like this is similar to where they added in what was that? United Abominations, where they redid what's that song called? They redid it with yeah. And it's just like it stops the album in its tracks, and I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's a bad cover or anything. I don't like the original. I don't like this song. I don't know why the hell it. I mean, maybe it would have made sense to end the album with it or something, or have it as a hidden track. I don't even know if they did that back in '84.
I agree that it definitely has very weird placement on the album, being the third song. Like usually something in that like 1st through 4th slot is like your fucking like those are your bangers. Those are the ones you're trying to get people onto the album to listen to, and it is weird placement. I'll give you that.
And speaking of so the song, speaking of the first 4 songs, so I have 2 highlights. Everything else is, it's not bad. It just, I honestly don't know if I would ever revisit these particular songs. Or have the urge to, but my highlights: Death Rider, the song, the opening track for the album, and Panic, which is right after I'm 18. It's probably the best song on the album, and probably their best song in general, in my opinion. So yeah, should I give my score?
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll give my score after, because
we'll double back, give your highlight and your.
All right, hit me, Adrian.
So I am giving Fistful of Metal a solid 30.
Okay.
I think it is a good album.
Okay. So for me, Adrian kind of stole most of my stuff. I think the worst and best
You didn't say it.
songs. I know. I didn't know. I think the worst and best songs are among the first four. My low light is "I'm 18." When I thought that was an Anthrax song, because I was not familiar with the original. I literally did not understand why Anthrax would record that as a real song and why that would even make like the album's cut. But I was thankful.
The single too.
I was thankful that I found out it was a cover, so I could also, like Jason said, mentally write it off. But my highlights, I know Jason doesn't like the song, but one of my highlights is Metal Thrashing Mad. I really like that song, and Panic as well. But Death Rider is also a very good song as well. But
a guitar solo, man, on Panic. Holy shit.
Yeah. And
no.
so I my score fluctuated greatly, but I settled on a 36.
Okay.
All right, Jason, Josh.
You want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay, you go.
All right. Production on this album actually not too bad. I think this is probably
we
of the
didn't even
first.
talk about any of that.
Oh, it's okay. I just made a note of this because I just thought this is probably the best sounding first album of any of the four that we're gonna have
Agreed.
here. Outside of that, I have nothing good to say about this record. I think this is an embarrassment to metal. No, look, it's not quite that bad. That album's coming up. But look, for me, I have two absolute just dog shit songs on this album. Across the River, not great. And then Anthrax.
Man.
Here's my note for Anthrax. How embarrassing that this is your band's title track. Like, this is the song you're going to bring forward to show people, hey, we're Anthrax, and listen to our song, Anthrax. And once you get outside of about that first 45 seconds, this turns into an absolute pile of shit.
Hey, Josh, not to steal anything from you, but on my notes for that song, this is my notes. First 46 seconds is so good. And then the lyrics kick in.
Yeah. Yeah. For highlights, I did put two highlights on here. Death Rider, obviously the best song on the album for me. And then I thought Subjugator was pretty good as well. Overall, I would not recommend this album. I'm giving this a 55.
All right, Jason.
All right, so I will agree that what Josh said as far as production, this was probably the best production for an opening album. I really actually liked quite a bit of this album. Highlights: Panic, fantastic, hands down. Best song on the first four albums. I also liked Death Rider, Subjugator. I also liked Across the River. A song that I didn't really like the first time through, but for some reason it just stuck in my head. I found myself actually like singing. The song was Death from Above. This album would be a really good score, actually. If it wasn't for the two lowlights, which is Metal Thrash Mad and Soldiers of Metal. If you've listened to the pod, I'm not big on the high squealing, screaming sound. And in Metal Thrash Mad, the whole song is 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And 40 seconds of that song is straight screaming. I just like nails across a chalkboard for me. So those two songs by themselves really dragged the score down. But I gave it a 39.
All right. That brings us to a even.
Is there a lag?
No. That brings us to an even 40 overall for the album. So I
have a feeling that
is going to be the best score
of the night.
Yeah, I will tell you, it probably is.
I agree. All right.
It was a good album.
Yeah.
All right. So after Fistful of Metal, we move on to Anthrax's second album, Spreading the Disease. So this came out in October of 1985. This album features, you still have Spitz, Ian, and Benante. But on this album, we add Frank Bello on bass, and we add Joey Belladonna on vocals. So just a quick note here on the album. After the Fistful tour, Turbin was fired and replaced by a singer named Matt Fallon, who was quickly fired due to his lack of confidence in the studio. In comes Joey Belladonna. The band had some concerns about his musical background as he didn't have any experience in thrash or metal. Most of his experience was from cover bands that covered acts like Journey, Foreigner, and Bad Company. This album produced one single and a music video for that single, Madhouse, which did not get much airplay.
Wonder why.
Due to the nature of the song.
Oh.
I'll start with Spreading the Disease here. I changed up my listening habits for Anthrax this time around, because usually I'll spend about a full week with each album. But this time I was so turned off by the first album the first time I listened to it that I was like, I gotta know if I'm in for something else, right? If it's got to be something better. And man, I turned this album on and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the production was instantly like better. The guitars sounded really good, and this album for me is the best album that Anthrax has in the first four so far. There's some good songs on it. There's definitely some bad songs on it, but I would tell you, for me, by far the MVP, and this is going to go for these four albums. The thing that holds Anthrax back for me is they are not guitar driven, right? Like if you listen to Slayer, if you listen to Megadeth, Metallica, there are fucking great riffs. There are great riffs in these songs. Anthrax, there are not. Like, it is generic riffs. There's nothing that stands out, right? The thing that stands out for me for Anthrax is Joey Belladonna. And especially on this album, like this dude, Jason, you said something earlier, and I literally wanted to fight you. I wanted to punch you through the text message when you said Joey Belladonna was terrible. This dude could fucking sing, man. Like,
hey, look, I sent you a link. I was wrong.
Oh, I know. But this dude could fucking sing, and he is by far the best part of Spreading the Disease. I thought so. I'll just go into my highlights here. Well, low light. I only had one low light on this one, which is Gung Ho. That was awful. But
absolutely fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yes, but for me, I do have a couple of highlights. Madhouse, good riff. This song feels kind of hair metalish, but it was pretty good. The Enemy, all vocals, man. The vocals on that song are so good. But the single best song that Anthrax has written thus far through the first four albums is AIR. And I did see in an interview, so AIR stands for Adolescence in Red. Great drums, great vocals on that. Shitometer for me, look, while this is a much better album than they're going to put forth in the next couple albums we talk about and the first one, still not great. I would barely recommend this. This is a 43 for me.
I'll go next. So that I will tell you, Josh, that was a worse score than I was prepared to enter here. So I can only imagine where we're going from here. So I will say I also because, like I mentioned before, I kind of moved on pretty quick from their first record. I thought the first go around listening to it, I thought it was okay, it was all right, and I was kind of just ready for some more. And then I think actually you, Josh, because you did not like their first album at all, and you were talking about Spreading the Disease, you'd mentioned that it was instantly better in our group chat. I was like, okay, you piqued my interest. So I immediately jumped into it, and I agree with you overall. I think it is the best Anthrax album of the first four. Not by much, but it is for me. I think this is Joey Belladonna's best performance with the band, and I don't think that opinion is ever going to change for me. because I feel like this is the only album of the first 4 that we've listened to where they really let Joey be Joey. And as we'll talk about, I think his style of singing completely changes after this record. I think this album actually uses his strengths and lets him actually sing to a higher, like to a register he can sing. And the other albums, he does this more fucking talk, singing, garbage thing. Anyway, AAR, fantastic highlight. Madhouse is great. I like Lone Justice, even though I wouldn't call it a highlight, but it's kind of, I like the song. Gung Ho is absolutely garbage. I really like Aftershock as well. I'm surprised, Josh, you didn't put it on there. I think Aftershock is fantastic.
I toyed with putting it on my highlights. It's a good one.
It's a very good song. One of the few like true thrashers that I think Anthrax has in terms of like just tempo. Yeah, Gung Ho is the only low light. Thankfully, it comes at the very end of the record. So it doesn't really affect my score overall. This album would do a lot better if it had a memorable guitar solo or a memorable riff in its body. As it stands, though, the problem with this album is it's very forgettable. Like, after you listen to it, you kind of forget that it exists. And I worry that that's how I'm going to feel about Anthrax when we're done with all this. Is even the songs that I like, I'm never going to have the urge to go back and listen to them. My score is a 33.
All right. You want me to go next?
Go for it.
All right. So, spreading the disease. I found myself just kind of listening to this. For me, there was one highlight, and that's AIR. Hands down the best song on this album. I do kind of like Armed and Dangerous. But the lowlights for me are Gung Ho and Lone Justice. I just could not get past the squint eye grin and stubble chin. I got to where I had to skip it as soon as I heard talking. So overall, most of this album for me is very average in the way that I listen to music, and so I gave this a 5.
Was that a 45? Okay. Adrian.
All right. So, in contrast to what you and Josh said, this is my least favorite Anthrax album of the 4. I don't hate it. I don't think it sucks.
Impossible.
I don't think it sucks. I just think it's so incredibly, and I mean, David said it himself. I just feel like it's so incredibly forgettable, and just to echo something Jason said too, it's just so incredibly average. The new bass player, I think he's a fucking animal, and that's especially showcased in the next album. As far as Joey Belladonna, I prefer David Lee Roth personally, but that's just me. I have to agree with you guys. There's one song that none of you guys mentioned on your highlights that I think actually has a pretty memorable riff. But I just don't see myself coming back to this album. It doesn't suck. It's not bad. It's just not for me. I feel like it has no replay value. Of the 4, this is the one I revisited the least. And I felt like it was a chore listening to. I mean, again, I don't think it sucks. It's just so meh to me. Lowlights, I just have one. It's Gung Ho. All the other songs, again, they're just pretty average to me. My highlights are AIR, it's a good song, and Medusa, which I fucking love that song. And that's probably between Panic and Medusa, those are my 2 favorite Anthrax songs. My score for this is a right down the middle 50.
All right. That brings us to a 42.75, and I can say this without fail. It is only going to get much worse from here. So yes. This is a secondary disclaimer. If you are a big Anthrax fan, keep buckle in. Buckle in, because here we go.
All right.
Y'all are gonna vomit.
Oh god, here we go. All right, Anthrax's third album, The Great, one of the top 50 metal albums of all time.
Yeah.
Among the Living, came out March 1987. This one actually featured the same lineup as Spreading the Disease. This album is dedicated to Cliff Burton, who died in a bus accident while on tour with Anthrax. This was the album that catapulted them into the Big Four conversation and moved them from club shows to arena shows.
Wow.
I also learned something very interesting about the band here doing the research for this album. So it appears, so this band employs 2 guitar players full time, right? Including a founding member, Scott Ian. Okay? So it only makes sense that their drummer, Charlie Benante, actually writes all the riffs for the band. He writes all the riffs for the band. And then Scott Ian, rhythm guitar player, full-time employee of the band, actually writes all the lyrics for Joey Belladonna to sing. So
that is a strange dynamic.
Yeah, I find that I feel like this is where we're missing here with the band. I just thought that was an interesting note. Just wanted to throw that out there. Who wants to go first?
I'll go
I'll
first.
go ahead and go first.
Oh, no, you go
man,
first,
we all
Adrian.
can't wait.
Adrian, go first.
Adrian.
Go for it.
I'm going first, so all the potential Anthrax fans don't fucking just cut this shit off right away. So I'll go first. This is my second favorite Anthrax album of the 4. It definitely reeks of meh and averageness, and it also reeks of it's just boring. I don't know. It's very forgettable for the most part.
The fact that you're gonna be the one to laud the most praise, and you start with the fact that it's meh and reeks of boring.
But look, these guys obviously when they wrote this, they're having fun. And I respect that. And I thought Frank Bello, the bass player, I was like, God damn, just listening to him play, like following some leads, following riffs, like to a fucking T. Honestly, I sent a message to not to Cliff Burton, to David. Telling him, like, God, no. Like, dude, like, man, like, I thought Cliff Burton was the fucking man, but dude, like, how have I never heard this guy's fucking name before, and he plays like this? Anyway, I think the bass player really shined in this album, and I love bass-driven music. It's probably, you can look at all of my highlights from Megadeth. It's all fucking bass-driven shit. Anyway, I have quite a few highlights. Now, I would like to say I have 0 lowlights. Everything is just okay, but the songs that I don't name as highlights, it's just stuff that's very forgettable, and I don't care to ever visit again. And just in general, I don't really feel like this album has that much replay value. So my highlights are Among the Living, I Am the Law, NFL, Nice Fucking Life, Skeletons, David, Indians.
No.
And a little interesting tidbit there. The very first time I put this album on, it was on Thanksgiving Day, and it's just funny that Indians was on there, but that's neither here nor there. And then lastly, Medley, ADI. I think those are good songs, and I'll also preface this with something else before you guys go, is I like punk rock, and this is this album in particular is evidently, it's just so clearly influenced by punk rock. So that's probably why I took to it the way I did. I give Among the Living a 37.
All right, hold up.
I'll go next.
Okay, go ahead.
I do not like punk, so that might explain part of the reason why this album just did not sit well with me. I have one highlight, and that's NFL. I think it's the best chorus on the album. But then the verses, again, just don't do anything really for me. The low light of this album, hands down, is "I Am the Law." It's and then the other low
Dude,
light
don't
would be
fuck around anymore.
Imitation of Life. And that's it. I mean, I just look. This album did not do anything for me really. It's by far for me the worst of the first three. I gave it a 64.
Ooh.
Jeez. I'm going next. All right. We'll save the best for last.
Oh no.
So,
Josh would be like, dude, I don't know what y'all talking about. I love this shit.
well, that could, hey, look, that could be the biggest okey doke of all time. So this album for me was an instant step down pretty heavily from the previous record. As I mentioned earlier, I think they neutered Joey Belladonna. They got this guy on a leash, and they, from what I can tell, never let him off of it from this point forward.
It's a fucking travesty.
They just don't let this guy really, like, yes, you could, I'm sure somebody out there will argue with me that yes, like look at this song at this moment. See, he sings really well at this part. Sure, but I think overall, like, his style is completely changed. And as Adrian pointed out, I think it's to better suit the more punk focused thrash that they're trying to achieve here. Thrash metal was always supposed to be like the energy of punk with the, intensity of heavy metal. I think obviously they lean way more onto the punk range, and so they needed Joey Belladonna to accommodate that. And I'm just not. I don't think it fits to his strengths. I'm a big believer in, like, play up to your strengths, and I don't think they do that anymore. My only highlight here really is Caught in a Mosh. I really don't like any of the other songs off of this record. I mean, most of them vary between low light. So I'm just going to quickly low lights. I Am the Law, songs about Judge Dredd. Get out of here. NFL, I'm not a fan of that song. That chorus is boo-boo.
Nice fucking life, Dave. Come on.
Ifil Nifil, I don't know. I'm not even going to try it anymore. Indians. The ADI horror is fine. We'll go ahead and count that as a highlight for me. But I think Caught in the Mosh is my only song that I, like, actually appreciate. This album for me, it only got worse with subsequent listens. I got this album at a 68.
Oof. God damn.
Hey, Josh, right before you jump in, Josh, before you give yours, like, I will say this, especially on the last two albums, Among the Living, State of Euphoria, I found myself enjoying almost every single song for the first, like, 30 or 40 seconds. And then as soon as they start singing, it just, to Dave's point, it's like, I don't know what's going on here. And it just, it really drug it down.
Agreed.
Go ahead, Josh.
Jason, I would say the first 40 seconds drug it down too. Look, man, I was really looking forward to this album more than anything else on here because it's on our top 50 list. This is generally regarded as being like a thrash metal classic, right? So I was really looking forward to this album the most. And I cannot believe how Joey Belladonna's vocals changed from spreading the disease to this record. I have in my notes, at times it sounds like Weird Al. It sounds like a Weird Al song is singing, just the way he's singing on this album. And it sucks so bad, man. Like, I was so mad about that. I was not a big fan of this album. It is not going to be a big swerve. Listen, I put one highlight on here, and in my notes I felt like I had to have at least one highlight. This song is barely okay. That's Caught in a Mosh. Skippers here. Ifil Nika Fessin. What the fuck is this? Indians. Not good. Medley ADI / horror. Anthrax has no business writing a song of this length. Listen, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain. This is not the worst score that I'm going to give of these first 4 albums. This album scores a 70 for me.
Whoa. Hey, so question for you, Josh. Do you think that, or I mean, I guess this could be for any of y'all. So I guess I was like, it took me a minute to like the first 2 albums, but do y'all think maybe your anticipation for this album is factored into why you dislike it so much? Because, the hype for it didn't meet the hype.
So I'll answer first. For me, and I've already kind of decided this, I don't think I'm going to revisit this record until we get to the top 50 metal albums list when we have to revisit this. I think I'm gonna let this album kind of disappear in my mind, and when we revisit it fresh, I'm not gonna have the anticipation necessarily. I'm just gonna listen to it for what it is, because I do agree with you, Adrian. I think because I came straight from Spreading the Disease, where I really liked it, I think that did build up my expectations for the next record. Plus, I mean, Among the Living, Josh mentioned, I mean, this album is spoken of in the same vein as Master of Puppets and Peace Sells, But Who's Buying, and Rain and Blood. Like this is blood. Like yeah. This is spoken to in the same vein as those other 3 records. And while I wasn't very kind to Rain and Blood overall, that album shits all over this record for me personally. Like obviously everything is subjective, but and same thing for Peace Sells, and obviously, we won't even bring up Master of Puppets into the conversation, but
no need.
But I do agree with you, Adrian. For me, I think I do think that the hype definitely built it up for me a little bit, because Caught in a Mosh was the only Anthrax song going into Anthrax that I even knew existed. Well, that I was familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, everything Dave said, plus I think just my anticipation of like I said early on, like how much I enjoyed Megadeth, how much I've enjoyed Slayer so far. Like I really thought that I was going to enjoy Anthrax a lot more than I have been. So I think all of that together, I think it worked against this album for me.
Okay.
Hey, look, just to be transparent, from my score, I did not know that this was on the top 50 metal albums of all time list until Josh said it just a second ago. So I had no idea.
I will say this because I didn't mention it before. That score, our cumulative score is a 59.75.
Woof.
Yeah.
Okay. And Josh, in case you didn't know, or maybe you did, I don't know, but she said, "What the hell is that?" That it's Nice Fucking Life backwards. NFL, Nice Fucking Life. That word. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. Because a guitarist is writing lyrics. That's why.
Yeah.
A guitarist who can't write his own riffs wrote the lyrics. That's why.
Oh man. All right. I hate that song more now knowing that.
So, State of Euphoria.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Last album of the first 4 here we're talking about. State of Euphoria.
Ayo.
This album reached number 30 on the Billboard charts. This came out in September of 1988. This album also featured the same lineup as the last 2 records. This album produced 2 singles, Who Cares Wins and Antisocial. Antisocial is a cover of a French band named Trust.
Crap.
The only other note I have for this album is that it was not well received.
Okay.
I'll go first.
All right, yeah.
Go ahead, Fossil.
All right, so this follows in line for me with Spreading the Disease, a very average sounding metal album. Although I will say this did not have as many lowlights as Spreading the Disease. Really the only lowlight for me was Misery Loves Company. I'll say the highlight for me was I did not know it was a cover until you just said it. Even though it's very punk style, I don't hate it. You got a catchy chorus. The best song on the album, hands down, though, is 13. because it's the shortest. I gave this album
That song, for reference, folks, is 49 seconds long.
Hands down, best song on the album. I gave this album a 44.
Yikes. Adrian, you want to go?
Sure. So I did not hate this album, but again, same deal. It just reeks of averageness. It just reeks of no replay value. Nothing's memorable really about it at all. It's funny, Jason. My only low light is 13.
Damn
it's
you!
Like, there's like I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be, and the only other what the hell is that supposed to be is the album ending with the "See ya," and I just thought that's dog shit. What's interestingly enough, though, finale, the song that I just mentioned, that it's on my highlights. There's nothing memorable about any of the instrumentation in this. I mean, the production's okay, I guess. I don't see myself revisiting this album at all. My highlights, I have 3 of them. As I mentioned, Finale, Who Cares Wins, and Antisocial. I think Antisocial is actually a really good song, and had no idea it was a cover. And actually, not now that you said it, Josh, it's like, yeah, it's like this only song that sounds like it's like way different than all the other songs on the album.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, this album's just meh. It's just there. I don't think it sucks. It's whatever. I give this album a 45.
All right.
There you go.
Josh, you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. I respectfully, gentlemen, I did not think as highly of this record as the two of you did. So we have a group chat, as we mentioned previously, and Josh had mentioned that he was embarking on the journey of this album, and I'll let him speak for himself, but overall he was not happy with that journey, at least via text he wasn't. And so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and give this a spin. I wasn't enjoying Among the Living, so let's move on, right? So I start to listen to it. I get through the first couple songs, and I'm like, I think Josh is just like crazy. Like this is not good, but it's not awful. And so I text him that. I was like, dude, I mean, I don't hear the garbage yet. And he's like, just wait. And he gives me, he lists off a few songs that he doesn't like. So needless to say, I finished the record, and I thought this record is terrible. I didn't enjoy it at all. This might actually be one of the worst metal albums I've ever heard. I think the only decent songs on this record are the first couple. Be All End All, I think, is the best song on the record, personally.
Hey, it's got opening cellos.
Oh yeah.
Out of Sight, Out of Mind is an okay song. My lowlights, I mean, you could basically say the rest of the album, but I do want to point out some particular stinkers here.
Schism.
Who Cares Wins, Now It's Dark, Schism. I think Schism might be one of the worst metal songs I've ever heard in my entire life. That song should have never been recorded.
Schism.
It is.
Okay, but what about Anthrax's version?
I see what you did there, buddy. I gave this album an 81.
Damn. Schism.
I'm going to say,
All right.
I predict that my score is not going to be the worst.
It is not going to be the worst. All right, listen. I love music. I just want to say that. I love music. This album hurt me. This album, it's taken away like a small percentage point of my enjoyment of music overall, knowing that this album exists. This is not good. I have written down, this is definitely one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my entire life. There is not one redeeming quality about this album. I have no highlights. I can't even fake the funk for this. Lowlights, Be All End All, Who Cares Wins, Schism, Make Me Laugh. Make Me Laugh might be the worst fucking song I've ever heard in my entire life. I would rather listen to fucking Breadline on repeat for 3 hours than listen to Make Me Laugh again.
Just once?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I gave Risk a 95.
You did? You did. Do you need to amend that score?
No, I don't, because it deserves a 95. This album is a 96.
Damn.
Jesus Christ.
I want to forget. I wish I could forget that this album exists.
Okay, so be professional. So that brings our overall score to a 66.5 for State of Euphoria. And do remember, because we didn't mention this before, if you might be confused, lower is worse. Sorry. The greater the score, the more the worse it is. So yeah, so 66.5. Gentlemen, overall, that is obviously the worst Anthrax album thus far. It is not the worst overall score we've ever given, but it is the worst score for Anthrax. So I'll repeat it in order here. The albums actually go in order of how we rated them. So Fistful of Steel, 40. Spreading the Disease, 42.75. Among the Living, 59.75, and State of Euphoria, 66.50. So,
Jesus.
Not looking great so far for Anthrax. Only 2 overall recommendations. Anything under a 50, we would consider that, we would recommend that on some level. And 2 albums that we overall do not recommend you visit, which one of those happens to be one of the
50
greatest metal albums of all time, at least reportedly.
And look, if you love Anthrax and you eat this shit up,
then
good on you.
Then I hope you had a good laugh, and you can definitely make fun of us in the comments.
We don't care.
Tell us how fucking stupid we are.
Yeah, we got thick skin.
But
hey, look, we have great news coming up here on 2 fronts. One, we get to listen to some more Slayer. That's great news, because we're doing the next 4 Slayer albums here next. And number 2, we're coming up on the John Bush era of Anthrax after that, which, some of the John Bush stuff I've heard in the past. I know it's a different sound from Anthrax, and it's got me at least a little bit more excited to get to that stuff, because I feel like that's going to be a little bit better.
And one of those albums I secretly love, and I didn't even know it was Anthrax until we started down this journey.
So, all right.
Any idea what the consensus of these next 4 Anthrax albums are?
So Persistence,
or of this era?
Persistence of Time is still considered to be like classic era. It's still the same lineup with Joey and everything. That's a highly regarded record. Sound of White Noise is the first record with with John Bush. That is also considered a pretty well regarded album. The next 2 after that, Stomp 442 and Volume 8, The Threat is Real. Specifically, Volume 8, The Threat is Real. Well, I'll just say both of those records are considered very bad amongst the Anthrax community. In particular, I believe it's The Threat is Real is really considered not good at all.
I am curious, like when you the consensus thought on this.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to get to that album now to see if it's just a difference in what we enjoy in music. And I'm like I said, I'm just curious if one of us actually really likes one of those albums.
No, I apologize. It was Stomp 442. So I had that mixed up. So yeah, Stomp 442 is considered the worst Anthrax record that they've put out.
Now I can't wait.
That's obviously everything is subjective, so we'll see. But based on
Super Collider wasn't well received either, and we all know that's their second best album.
Yeah, it does worry me though that we've been through what is largely considered the best stretch of Anthrax, and obviously the feelings were mixed. So,
what about these next 4 Slayer albums?
I've never heard any of them.
Well, yeah, that's
or as
true.
far as consensus.
Oh,
I've never heard any of them either. Well, No, not these four.
I think Adrian. I think the last one is God Hates Us All. So I think it's.
Shit.
That's the one you said you had some experience with.
All right, so while we're looking at it, so Seasons in the Abyss for Slayer, very highly regarded.
That is also part of our top 50 list. Yep.
Yep. Divine Intervention is well regarded, although not nearly as high as the previous 5. Diabolus in Musica is considered by a large portion of the fan base to be the worst Slayer album. God Hates Us All is considered a return to form of sorts. Now, business really doesn't start picking up a little bit again until the last 3 Slayer albums, which 2 of those are the return of original drummer Dave Lombardo. So we'll have to wait a while to get back to those.
Cool.
So, but yeah, guys, I think we've successfully completed another podcast.
And we apologize to all of those Anthrax lovers.
Yeah.
These first 4 albums, besides the first album, and if you negate Josh,
yeah,
they weren't our cup of tea, guys.
Yeah.
But question for those Anthrax fans, just to give them a little bit of ease here. And I don't even know this is a Metalhead's Journey thing. What is the worst overall score? You said that none of these were the worst overall. What album was the worst overall score?
Risk by Megadeth, and it's not even close.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I will say this. Actually, I didn't bring this up. Adrian, I'm glad you sparked this thought of me. So, as of now, the band average, because we will visit this later, Megadeth has a band average, because we've already reviewed all of their albums, of a 38.91. Slayer has a band average of 33.69. So pretty fucking good so far. Anthrax has a band average of 52.25. So if you go off of our rating system, we just basically, as of right now, don't recommend Anthrax.
Yeah. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Basically.
So like when you consider it that way, Adrian, Anthrax has some ground to make up, right?
Sure.
Because I mean, it's harder to move the needle when it's all, when you're talking about this many records. So hopefully we get some good ones in here.
Cool.
All right, guys, take it easy. We will see you next time.
See ya.
Live long and prosper.